Morning to you, Chip. Have the government got the level of security risk right here? Are they right to deploy, or are they over-egging it a little bit?
I think they are right to deploy because risk is both likelihood and impact. And what you don't want is a third thing happening. We say two's a trend and two's a pattern, three's a trend. And after Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, you don't want that on our critical national infrastructure. So it's sensible that they've done this, but it's not just the deployment of the Royal Navy ships with HMS Somerset and HMS Enterprise. There's also the maritime patrol aircraft of the P-8A Poseidon, which has an extensive intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition suite. So the real thing you need to do is obviously find and then fix any Russian activity should it be going towards those pipelines.
By fix?
That you stop them achieving their mission. So you find them where they are in the ocean and you let them know by either diplomatic means or other means that you know they're there. And therefore you raise the calculus for them. I think one of the interesting things, of course, is that we're not at war with Russia. And so what would be the rules of engagement if these such things kind of were to happen? Yeah. But I'm not disheartened by this at the moment in what's happening, because Nord Stream 2 was never going to come online. That was one of the sanctions things. And you can't deal with Nord Stream 1 at the moment because the Russians are still pumping gas. So you can't get to the breach and investigate it. That would be different with us because we and the Norwegians would own those pipelines and therefore would be able to go and deal with it, because one of the things you need to do is what is the quickest route to recovery and how do you stop it from happening again? And that is part of the two of the questions you'd ask on risk management and ensuring that you have business continuity. And what this really is a business continuity issue.
What about the nuclear threat that there's been lots of talk about in recent days, concerns that President Putin, increasingly under pressure, is possibly going to carry out some sort of nuclear exercise, perhaps close to the border with Ukraine. Poland's so concerned, in front of The Guardian this morning, that they're asking the United States for nuclear weapons to be sent to their territory. I mean, if that was to happen, that's a significant escalation. Presumably the same requests would be made to the UK as well.
Yeah, but I think that's still overplayed at the moment. I don't think you mobilise 300,000 people and you do a hybrid attack on Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 to go and use nuclear weapons at this time. And that nuclear train, in terms of the posture of that, has been said by US officials from the Pentagon and the State Department that it is not out of the norms of the normal activity of the Russians. So we've got to be very careful about how this is played by sensationalist headlines when it's not really there yet. And that doesn't mean that one should be complacent. And one can look at maybe three ways that they might employ ultimately nuclear weapons. One might be something like a demonstration to say we're serious, something like a small yield on Snake Island. But of course, you still have a radiological fallout from that. The second one is, I'll call it tactical, but that's really a term for arms control, which is to win a battle. You dial a yield appropriate to taking out Ukrainian forces. And the third one would be strategic, and that is airburst over, for example, a number of cities to try and break the will of the Ukrainians. But that would be a whole new ballgame in terms of Russia's future in the international order in the world. And I just can't see that. But it's Putin, and Putin probably suffers from the hubris nemesis complex, and that makes him extraordinarily difficult to deal with.
Quoting a senior US official, The Telegraph says that taking Crimea is a very real possibility. Do you agree with that assessment?
I do, but I don't think that the Ukrainians need to do that at the moment. So the problem the Russians have got is when they invaded Ukraine in 2014, they raised up and gathered in 2 million Crimean people, supposedly, and lost 44 million Ukrainian people. So if the Ukrainians want to drop the Kerch Bridge, that effectively kettles any Russians in Crimea, and Ukraine can take Crimea at any time they wish. So at the moment, I don't think that in a military sense is the main effort for the Ukrainians.